With the Oklahoma Sooners now having the number 29th class in the 2026 recruiting rankings, coming in at 16 commits, the question is, as the Oklahoma Sooners are now towards the bottom of their board with guys that they were originally pursuing, who could now be entering the board as a potential flip target for Oklahoma as we get into the senior season and they start looking at senior evals? Well, there's a couple of targets that have already popped up on the board for Oklahoma, and some of them are new names that I don't think we've discussed here on the podcast. So we're going to talk about that today. Before we do, as always, I want to hear from y'all. Join the discussion. Jump down in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. And if you're new to the channel, this is not the normal background. We're actually on vacation. So make sure you hit that like, hit the subscribe button, and hey, maybe you'll get to see the recording studio when we get back home. And also you can be brought up to speed with everything going on with Oklahoma recruiting and just Oklahoma football as we start to head into the season. But the Oklahoma Sooners are going to have multiple flip targets pop up throughout the season as the staff starts to evaluate senior tape. And definitely now that Oklahoma has pretty much gotten to the bottom of the board of guys that they were pursuing throughout the 26 recruiting cycle, you're going to start to see them maybe start to pursue new guys as potential flip targets or even add guys to their board. And one of the guys that I think has started to gain some traction, gain some momentum as a potential flip target for Oklahoma, not a name that I've heard a lot of people talk about too much, but definitely people when I go talk to other guys around, hey, what are we hearing around? Who Oklahoma's pursuing? Who could we potentially see in this class? A guy by the name of Stephen Pickard is starting to come up quite often. Now, if you haven't heard of this name, he's a 6'5", 300-pound inside offensive lineman out of IMG Academy. He is a three-star, right now the 2084th player in the 247 composite rankings. But I'm not going to read into that too much because we know how prepared and how ready guys that come out of IMG Academy are compared to other guys across the country. So I would definitely probably value him a little bit higher. And again, I trust Jim Nagy's, evaluations here. I trust what Jim Nagy's doing. Now, he's had some interest for some other teams, but he got the offer from Syracuse, pretty much committed right away. And then you saw NC State offer him on July 13th. But it feels like from some sources that I've talked to, this is a guy that Oklahoma has been closely monitoring, and it sounds like maybe something could be happening with Oklahoma here pretty quickly. He is on the opposite side of Jake Cruel. Oklahoma has been trying to expand their footprint in IMG Academy, and you definitely need some more offensive linemen in this class. You don't want to take a smaller one, and Stephen Pickard potentially just fits that mold for what Oklahoma is looking for. So I would keep his eyes out for a guy like Stephen Pickard to potentially be a flip target for Oklahoma. He did just also tweet a hourglass thing in 48 hours on his Twitter. So we'll have to see what that means, but I would definitely keep your eyes peeled on a guy like Stephen Pickard. Now, somebody that we've talked about here on the podcast recently that definitely sounds like momentum is starting to build maybe in Oklahoma's favor is Jacob Curry, the 6'1", 200-pound linebacker out of Ponte Verde Beach, Florida, out of Nice High School. That is the high school that Tim Tebow originated from. Coming in as the 935th player in the 247 composite rankings, a three-star, currently committed to Northwestern, has a total of 23 offers from teams across the country. But he was named as an all-county defensive player of the year last year, and he finished the season with 101 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 11 QB hurries, 8 sacks, 7 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. Now, the Sooners offered him on July 22nd, and the big thing to note here about Jacob Curry is, obviously, this isn't a guy where I would expect him to come in and play right away for the Sooners, but this was definitely a guy that you could bring in for a year or two as like a project, and maybe in 2 years he's playing some meaningful snaps for you. And again, you need more depth at these positions. Obviously, you can't just get a bunch of guys that can come and start for you right away, because then you'll just end up with a bunch of transfers. So you got to have your projects built in with guys that can come in and play pretty quickly. That way you can have that depth already built into your team. So keep your eyes out on Jacob Curry. Feels like momentum is building there. Additionally, somebody that we talked about in an offer video yesterday was Braden Allen, a 6'1", 170-pound wide receiver out of Lafayette, Louisiana. currently committed to Tulane, coming as the 935th player and a three-star, according to the 247 composites. 14 total offers. Feels like Oklahoma and Colorado, as of late, have gotten pretty involved here. But Braden Allen did visit the Oklahoma Sooners earlier in the year for a camp, and EJ has just done a phenomenal job at maintaining that relationship and trying to keep himself having the ability to go out here and flip Braden Allen throughout the long term. He is a dual sport athlete, so we'll have to kind of see, hey, how does that play for Oklahoma? But interesting to see that Oklahoma may be starting to gain momentum in that recruitment. I still think we're a couple months out. I would imagine he's going to want to come do a couple visits, whether it's a game day visit, and then obviously I would assume he's probably going to go out to Colorado and any other teams that want to get involved. So I don't think this one's going to be the one that wraps up quickly, but Oklahoma needs another wide receiver, and he would definitely be a great one. Staying on wide receiver, though, a name that I have started to hear some buzz around as somebody that could potentially show up during the Michigan game, maybe show up at another point during the season, and he is friends with an Oklahoma guy that is on the 2027 board, and that is going to be Ethan Booby Feaster. Now, he is friends with the one and only Peyton Houston, the 27 quarterback that Oklahoma is pursuing out of Louisiana. And it feels like Oklahoma has the lead there in the Peyton Houston recruitment. Peyton Houston is going to be on campus for the Michigan game. And it feels like Ethan Booby Feaster could potentially be a flip target if you land Peyton Houston because of just that friendship and that bond there, and Oklahoma needing more wide receiver bodies. It's funny, USC actually looks at Booby Feaster as maybe the best wide receiver in the 26 class. And I know that Jim Nagy and the staff like Ethan Booby Feaster as well. He was a part of the 27 class. He reclassified here to 2026. He's got a total of 53 total offers. So for Oklahoma, I would imagine they're not going to be the only school trying to flip Booby Feaster. But USC, where he's currently committed, has not been notorious for holding on to their recruits throughout a recruiting cycle. So could the Oklahoma Sooners try to play spoiler here? 100%. I'm not putting this one high on my board as a possibility yet, just because I would imagine for a guy like Booby Feaster, he's going to have a lot of options. And, just from what we understand about Jim Nagy and the Oklahoma Sooners and, who they're willing to pay for, I would imagine Booby Feaster is going to be getting some huge NIL offers from other teams. I don't know if Oklahoma is going to want to pay that much for a wide receiver. I might be wrong, but just kind of reading the tea leaves and seeing what I've seen so far, I don't know if that's going to be something that Oklahoma is going to want to entertain. But you never know. This is just somebody that we've heard some buzz around. Figured it might be worth mentioning. But I want to hear from y'all. So join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and hit that subscribe button.